All right, good morning, everybody. It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker in our Next Jump Journey series, Dan Sullivan.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. Like Laura just said, my name is Dan Sullivan. I joined Next Jump just under a year ago, November 2017, and I know you've heard a lot from very experienced speakers. But so this is my kind of like a journey from just a year. So just want to start with a little bit about my background. I was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I'm really proud about that and still very proud to be living here. I was actually raised in a single parent home with my mom and my twin sister. And, you know, that was a pretty tough situation to kind of grow up in. But from a really young age, I never really wanted that to define me. I kind of made it my goal to just prove everyone wrong. I grew up with a very big chip on my shoulder. And I just wanted to prove to everyone that, you know, I could do everything on my own and didn't really need the help of a father to kind of get anywhere. And so this mindset kind of led me to Tufts University, and my experiences on the Tufts University men's soccer team kind of led me towards Next Jump. I had a lot of teammates who had worked and interned here, and I heard a lot about the kind of unconventional culture, and the idea of direct feedback was the real reason that I applied to Next Jump in the first place. I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the Super Saturday event, and then lucky enough to get an offer, which I happily accepted. So when I jumped into Next Jump, I kind of entered our onboarding process, which is the personal leadership bootcamp, in which you kind of identify a trait about yourself that's kind of like something that's been holding you back your entire life. And you have to really dig deep and reflect. And for me, that was kind of like the hardest part, was kind of like digging into myself and having to kind of find that thing of what I wanted to change and how I wanted to change. And I found that really challenging. You know, I struggled to kind of find that, and really opening up to people was the hardest part for me. You know, growing up, it was just my mom, my sister, and I kind of felt since all I can remember is just trying to protect them and be strong for them at all costs, never wanting to show my weaknesses because, you know, I was the man of the house at that point. And so that was led to me being like trapped in my own thoughts, and kind of not really ever opening up to anyone, just because I felt that I had to be like a rock and solid. And then yet through this process, I realized that, you know, opening up and kind of exposing my struggles to people was the only way that I was going to be able to free myself. And that was a really liberating experience. And another thing I realized was that opening up and sharing my vulnerabilities would allow others to help me. Not only that, but it would allow me to help others. And this was kind of like the beginning of my leadership journey here at Next Jump. So after graduating PLB, I was able to kind of practice and continue to practice sharing my vulnerabilities to my peers and my managers in both my culture and revenue initiatives. So here at Next Jump, we have both our culture and revenue. In our culture initiatives, we are practicing our leadership and decision-making skills. And so the thing that I'm actually most proud of was the opportunity to co-captain with Stephanie, the Avengers event. So for those who don't know, the Avengers ceremony is something that we have every year, and it kind of honors the best Next Jump servant leader, if you will. And so near the end of June, we first heard that we were going to be coordinating and captaining the Avengers ceremony. And while this is the biggest Next Jump culture event, it's also one that kind of every Next Jumper has really near and dear to their heart. And that was kind of really nerve-wracking for us. You know, we didn't want to let everybody down because this was such an important event. And so being tasked to coordinate a kind of a 400-person event seemed impossible to us when we first found out, kind of super overwhelmed, really lost. We had never really been to an Avengers event, so we didn't know what to expect. And then simultaneously, I had to maintain and balance my revenue work. And during that time, it was actually the peak season. So I was kind of running through, stressing around about revenue work and the Avengers ceremony. But really, the hardest part of the Avengers was the week of. So not only was I running a revenue event in my category, but we were also having to do these last minute changes, like add 50 people to the guest list, even though we were already at our maximum capacity. And then while all these stresses were kind of a big deal, 2 days before the event, I got a phone call and had a pretty big family emergency. And, you know, that really hit home for me. It was like my breaking point. I kind of broke down and almost had a meltdown. I actually had a panic attack at work, and it was very, very, I don't know, challenging for me. And, you know, the old me, I would have just tried to put my head down and work through it, not tell everybody, make these decisions that could have been critical and possibly ruin both of the events that I was part of. But it was only through like opening up to my managers and my peers and Stephanie that I was able to get through this. And so like as in any event, you know, there's elements that are completely out of our control, but it was us building a strong core team that was going to help to make the key decisions at the right times, as well as senior leaders who are invested in our success. And that was really what kind of drove us to to navigate through these difficult situations. And we were actually really proud of it. We were able to get the challenge coin, which is kind of a big deal for us. I don't know, I still have it right here. If you guys want to challenge me, let me. All right. But yeah, this leadership experience was very, very helpful for me. And I actually find that these practices kind of have a lot of parallel to my revenue initiative. So in May, I was kind of halfway through training, and then they asked me to take over and own one of the 3 biggest categories on our site. And so at that point, I kind of had 2 internal dialogues running. I was like, all right, great. I've been here a few months. I get to, you know, own this category. I get to be the man. Like, I'm ready for this. But then at the same time, I was like, I haven't really completed my training. Like, how am I going to step up and fill the shoes of someone who's been running the category for like 8 years? Like, is my team going to reject me and drop me if I'm just not doing well, if I mess it up? And then like, whose idea was this in the first place? Like, come on. So just for some context, when you own a strategic category on this site, it's kind of similar to being like the CEO of a very small company. So the tickets category generates around $35 million in revenue. I mean, in sales, sorry, a year. And as an owner, I'm responsible for, you know, the full marketing plan. So that's designing the email campaigns to help spur the success of the category. That's handling a team of engineers to ensure that the product is clean and constantly improving. And then that's also managing the client relationships, which are obviously essential to helping your category succeed. And so at first, I dove right into it. I was like, all right, I'm the man. Let me just try this out. I'm going to go into this and crush it. And that led to a lot of mistakes initially. So I missed out on a bunch of key client calls. I forgot about marketing. And then I wasn't communicating effectively with my engineering team. Here are a few emails that were sent to me and my managers. They're pretty hard to take, but you know, by expressing my weaknesses and my fears to my managers and my team, they were able to give me the coaching that I need and really kind of change my mindset around the whole situation. I think that's probably like the best part of that whole experience. And at first, you know, I got this direct feedback and it really wasn't what I wanted to hear. Like, it sucked being yelled at. And I really didn't take it well initially, but it really did help to shift my mindset around. So then I also was able to be vulnerable to my engineering team and admit all the mistakes that I had made. And we were able to come together as a team and form like a really cohesive team to then turn the category around to where at this point we're now trending, I think, 45% up year over year in sales. And then last year, I think we did 32 million for the whole year of 2017, and we're already at 35 million and still counting. So, and I think this is like the most proud thing that I'm proud of in my revenue job, is just being able to admit my mistakes and come through with my team and really rally together to grow the category. So in looking back at my journey so far at Next Jump, I think it's going to sound a little bit corny, but I really do think I've changed significantly. For so long, I was living in constant fear of rejection, hiding my struggles, my life, and my concerns, and just trying to be the man overall. And that made it nearly impossible for people to help me. But in just under a year, I've become more aware of this, and the fact that exposing my struggles and vulnerabilities allows those around me to help me. I found that I'm now able to have a lot of difficult conversations in my personal life that, you know, I never would have been able to do before. For instance, I recently opened up to my mother for the first time about, you know, growing up without a father and how that really was hard. And, you know, before kind of being aware, I like never would have done that for my whole life. I had never done that. And I don't think if I wasn't here, I ever would have done that. And so I know I haven't really been here that long, but I'm really looking forward to continuing to grow. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening.